So a little bit about what we do and who is using our product around the world. Let me back up a step now and just talk about biopolymers more broadly, what they are. And very simply, there's sort of a two-step definition of what biopolymers and the plastics that are made from them are. They can be either bio-based, renewably sourced, and in the big picture you heard there, I hope you heard what that means, that really the basic building block is the carbon in the atmosphere sequestered as the carbon in the plastic. That's bio-based. That's one situation. They can be, regardless of what they're made from, they can be fossil-based, for example, and biodegradable, either or. Now, the plastic we make, NGO, is both biodegradable in some situations and bio-based from plants. What's critical here is that there are rigorous global standards. I list the US or North American standards here, but there are ISO standards for bio-based content to distinguish new carbon content versus old fossil carbon content. The top certification, for example, would apply to what Steve showed you, the Coke or the Heinz bottle, which is bio-based, but absolutely not designed to be biodegradable. Biodegradability is a tricky one because biodegradability has to be defined with a place and a time. What most are interested in is compostability, and that's what we've designed our grades to do. There's also marine degradability, a key interest to, I think, this audience. And there's soil degradability, and there are rigorous standards for all of those. So if you see or hear of any biodegradability claim, I would be very suspect unless you hear it qualified with where and when and in what time frame. So that's a quick primer on what bioplastics, biopolymers are, as important as what they're not. And I can't harp on this enough, that biopolymers are not based on degradable additives. You'll hear a lot of hype, if you will, greenwashing with some in the industry touting sort of additives that can be added to a variety of conventional plastics to make them, quote, degrade and disappear. It's a nice concept, but as far as we have so far seen in the industry, there's not been any hard data to show that actually works. And what it does seem to do is simply, if it does work, is simply make them disintegrate, and then you have microplastics. So I'd be very cautious about this kind of approach. This is really raising the ire of many NGOs around the world. I list one here on the west coast of the US, Californians Against Waste, that has been so frustrated with the greenwashing going on here, they've actually worked with some of the laws on the books in the state of California to go after false advertising claims and successfully pushed many of these companies out of the market, which is what, which we're pleased to see them doing and really policing the space. So enough on that. Let me sort of move into the case study piece of this very quickly. We love this methodology, cradle to cradle, and I don't know how well known this terminology is in this part of the world, but I think it's fairly self-explanatory versus cradle to grave. It's a concept laid out about 10 years ago by McDonough and Braungart. They just got a new book published. We like this methodology because for us, we're all about putting a hard line, a firewall, if you will, above or around landfill and working every which way to ensure that nothing made out of our products ends up in landfill. So with a cradle-to-cradle mentality, we take a look at all the options, and no hierarchy suggested here. These are sort of, in layman's terms, the common options from various recycle schemes to compost or anaerobic digestion to incineration with energy recovery. And if you sort of check the box, most incumbent plastics can be to some extent recycled. Many of them are. Most all of them can certainly be burned for energy, and that's a controversy in its own right in some geographies. We sort of checked the box here with where we can fit. And one of my tasks in the last 5 years has really been to move sort of this from being a theoretical check, yes, NGO could be recycled, to yes, it is actually being recycled. And that's what we're really excited about today. And I'll show you a couple of proof points of compost and recycle beginning to occur around the world. So we're often challenged with, well, NatureWorks, what is the answer? What should happen with products made out of NGO? And of course, when you look, and we've color-coded here where we're shipping our products and where they are, and more than half our products are exported outside the US into these geographies, I think the answer ought to be pretty obvious to you, that there's no one-size-fits-all simple answer for how you get cradle to cradle. It depends, like most things in real life. It depends on what the product is, what the infrastructure is, what the practice is in the countries around the world. So let's focus on compost as an example, and as Pat queued up, we want to talk about the Olympic Games. This is best done not in my own words, and we've got a short 1-minute video here put together by a partner of ours, customer in the UK, London Biopackaging, that orchestrated this whole thing. I sincerely hope the video is a little bit better than the last one. our piece of this, and something we're frankly darn proud of, is what you see bottom right, which is over 20 million articles. Humble things like cups and lids were made out of NGO. And there were many other contributors like ourselves supplying into this scheme, but here's the results. And let's roll with that second video.